not something I'm projecting to happen, but I would not be surprised at all to actually see it happen based on what we saw in 2019. It's DK Metcalf, and he could absolutely explode this season. His ADP has him around. So the wide receiver 21 right now, Tyler Lockett, who I do have projected ahead of him, is only going a few spots higher at the wide receiver 18. But look, there's a world where Metcalf absolutely explodes, and it could happen from two things. He could blow up from the let Russ cook movement, where we see the Seahawks actually throw it at a decent clip this year. The last couple seasons, they've been near the bottom of the league in terms of pass attempts with this run-heavy approach. Last year, they were at 517. Before that, 420. So there was that era in 2016, 2017 where Wilson was airing it out and still being extremely efficient, the same that he has been on that, almost sub 500 pass attempt volume that he's been at. The other thing that for Metcalf that could take it over the top, though, are the double-digit touchdowns that he could potentially see. We saw huge improvements on film, both in terms of his route running and the way Seattle was using him. He came in as a polarizing prospect. Everyone said, all he can do is run fades and go routes. And last season, we did see that. We saw limited route usage, and we saw a low catch rate. But there's a world where Lockett is the 1B to DK Metcalf's 1A in this offense. And something that's really hard to project because all we have is the data that we have up to this point is improvement. And for a rookie in his first season, I thought Metcalf was incredible. Lockett had 110 targets to Metcalf's. Again, a rookie here had 100 targets. That almost never happens. He had almost the same target share as Tyler Lockett. 900 yards, 7 touchdowns. He was top 20 in yards per reception, top 20 in deep targets. Now, he was 6th in the league in drops and had that 58% catch rate, but that's what you expect from a rookie who was only on the field for 87% of snaps. That was 31st among receivers. So you add an increase in volume. You add a world where he is the guy where those touchdowns remain the same, if not creep up. I mean, he had 7 as a rookie. I think that's only going to improve as he gets better on this offense. And there's going to be a premium on all of Metcalf's receptions that I think could take him to incredible territory, elite production territory, because he's not going to be top 15 in targets, but his yards per reception, his touchdown volume, his red zone usage are going to be incredible. We've seen Russell Wilson's efficiency literally get better every single year, even though over the last 2 seasons he's been passing less and less, which is just crazy to me. And Wilson's been top 5 in deep ball attempts, top 5 in completed air yards, top 5 in passing touchdowns over the last 2 seasons. There's a world where that all gets funneled to Metcalf. We saw some injury worries come up with Lockett, and so in a scenario like that, where if Metcalf is the guy, he's going to explode. And the playoff games that the Seahawks had in 2019.
The playoff game was unreal.
That was the sneak peek. 7 receptions for 160 yards and a touchdown. The other game, he had 4 receptions for 60 yards. So, that could be his ceiling and his floor, where it's 10 points on his worst week, and then, in his boom weeks, you're getting over 20. And if we see the consistency stay there, and if the Seahawks can pass a little bit more, man, I just see the sky's the limit for DK Metcalf. We see his upside from a physicality standpoint, the way that this man is built. If he can put it together with Russell Wilson on a high efficient offense, it's going to happen.
I like the call. I mean, if I'm going to be honest with you, Steph, I haven't drafted DK a lot of places.
Not projecting it.
Yeah, of course, not projecting it.
I think Tyler Lockett will actually be the recipient of this, honestly, but I'm just saying it's not out of the range of outcomes for Metcalf.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. I haven't drafted DK in a ton of places. I don't have a ton of shares of him, but it's not because I don't like DK as a player. There's just a couple other guys in that tier that I'm a little bit higher on. But for DK Metcalf, like what you've said is DK Metcalf has this in his range of outcomes. And if DK Metcalf comes out and he goes for 1,400 yards and 10 touchdowns this year, I would not be that surprised. Again, not projecting it to happen, but there is a world where that's the case. And if that happens, DK Metcalf's winning you a league. So I love it. He could be – I mean, we talked about it the other day about this year's Devontae Parker, and I think Metcalf is coming in with much more hype and much more steam than Parker did last year. But someone who just week in and week out just keeps on producing and producing and producing and big plays and touchdowns, ending up as a wide receiver 1, that could be DK Metcalf this season. There's a lot of hype around him. We know he's a freak athlete. And again, I think there's a world where it happens, and it wouldn't surprise me one bit. So I love calling your shot here. I would love to see Russell Wilson
And-
really open it up and throw it 35, 38, 40 times a game. That would be nuts. If Russell Wilson threw it 600 times this season, would you,
Oh my
if you
gosh.
knew Russell Wilson was going to throw it 600 times, would Lockett and DK be top 15 in your rankings?
Yes. No, that would be that's.
For
I
me
mean,
too,
you're
easily.
seeing that in Tampa
Possibly
Bay.
top 12.
You're seeing that in Tampa Bay with
Yeah.
Evans and Godwin. You're getting pretty close to that in Atlanta on offenses that throw it 600
Yeah.
times with two great weapons, both on the outside and guys that can hop into the slot, guys that are going to be used in the red zone. So, no, I think they would both be in the top 15 range. And this season, like, I love Lockett as kind of the, what's the most likely scenario? I want Lockett in a lot of places, and I have him in a lot of places as my wide
safer.
receiver 2 or my desperation wide receiver 1 if I'm loaded at the other positions. Whereas Metcalf this season to me is a perfect flex because he's a guy who could explode. The floor may fall off at times, but if he does explode, you're going to want him on your roster.